create that error. That was a great return. A difficult area to return to. But they have shown that they are equally efficient at all points around the court, defense and attack. It really has been an impressive performance in just over 3 hours. Helped by the net a little, but you wouldn't begrudge them that. So again, Tan Bin Shen and Kajang have their 2-point lead. Don't forget the last 2 games that they lost to Nusaja were 10-11. And with this 11-point format, the deciding point, just one deciding point, it is really very unlucky that they didn't win those games. And then, of course, it would be 19-2 now, which would have been a little bit of miscommunication at the net. So that's another point. Now, they edge closer and closer to the end of the match. And that one's out as well. And we just saw from the fist pump there from Teo that every one of these points, even this far ahead, does mean a lot to them. There you go. This is match point, and they do it. 11-6, and that is the end of an exceptional tie. Really wonderful performance from Hua City. They win that 3-1, which means they have made it the perfect 18. And there you go. Look at that scoreline, 18-4. As I said earlier, there is a new sheriff in town in the Purple League. Hua City Badminton Club have come out and set the standard for all the other clubs to follow. And let's hear what the 2 last winners have to say.
We have the winners of the match here. How do you feel to get the perfect score? 18 games, all 6 matches you won.
Yeah, I think it's our teammates very hardworking to win all the match. So I support my team.
Okay, now for the rest of the league, for the rest of the season, do you feel like you can actually win the whole thing, be champions?
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so.
Congratulations once again. Ladies and gentlemen, Hua City BC players, and right now we're going to do something extra special as we take it up to the commentary booth. I've got you some special stuff that I need to give away.
As those prizes get given away by the winners, we just have a look at yet another dominating performance from Hua City. Always in control. Always with that extra power switch. And they seem to turn on and off at will. They confused their opponents. They outpowered their performance and they outplayed their opponents. So clearly sitting on top of the table, and I will stick my neck out and say that I really do doubt that we're going to see 2 perfect ties played in one day, but you never know. Kajang and Klang United up next. But it really was a spectacle for the fans. And there they are. All the people that have traveled down to the Sports Arena Sentosa in KL, right in the heart of KL. And look at that, total domination. Those unforced errors, I said, usually 20-23 for a doubles match. Well, it's questionable as to how many of those were actually unforced errors. But in terms of smashes, Talentio again on top. I should say Moa City again on top. And the short serves total show that they were completely in control of that game. Now, if we look at that incredible scoreline, 18-4. And if we look at the full results, well, that was it. Really, the only legitimate game that Nusajaya won was Chim Junwei taking one off Lee Hyun-il, but he still came through 3-1. Then there was a 3-love over Julia Wong for Rusiadina. There was a 3-love for Chow and Mak in the men's doubles. There was a 3-1. That was also handed to Kwan and Lim. Kwan Min-him, the captain, handed at 10-11. Tan Chun Sang then came out, strangely lost the first game to Chong Yi-han, but then recovered. And then finally, Tan and Teo also gifting the game back. And so have a look at that. The new standard has been set. 18 games won, 4 lost, 0.65. Really. And so they have a games won average of 18, as opposed to the 2 in second and third, 15-15. Of course, those differentiated by the amount of games that they lost, with Ampang losing 1 less than Puchong. Kapong still in 4th, but what a performance from Moa City. And as we look at the highlights of the whole match, it started off with this, a very experienced Lee Hyun-il, just a little bit off his game, and capitalized well by the World Junior Championship quarterfinalist, Chim Junwei. So he took 1 game back, and at this point, well, we didn't quite know where this tie was going to go. Everyone expected Lee Hyun-il to win it, and he did in the end with his consummate performance. And that was a beautiful turn. Then we had a second Moa City player, that was Rustiana Antadayu, and she just had a more composed game than Julia Wong, who was guilty of a lot of unforced errors and a lack of mobility on the court. So very tame effort from Julia Wong, and that was a 3-love. So that made it 6-1. And of course, the men's doubles, this was a blitzing performance from Chow Pak-chu and Mak Ki-chun. As you can see that, very powerful indeed. That took it to 9-1. Very fast-paced game that was. Now, of course, at 9-1, everyone kind of thought, well, right, this is going to go to Moa City, but the mixed doubles turned up after that. Arif Latif and Shamei Kwan again laying on the Moa City power, really commanding every point over Captain Kwan Beng-heng and Lin Pek-sia. As we said, they did give away the second game, and that came down to a 10-11. But in terms of movement, in terms of execution, the confidence and the desire to win was clearly, again, in Moa City's hands. So at this point, it was 12-2. And then Tan Chun Siang strangely gave away the first game to make it 3 games for Nusajaya, but he recovered and consolidated the tie at 15-3. And that, of course, set everything up for that final match, which was Tan Bin Shen and Teo Kok Siang over Lim Kim Hwa and Lim Un Kui, which we're just going to watch here. We just saw it. And they, of course, had the chance to make the perfect 18. Again, they gave away one of the games, 10-11, at match point. And it could have been 3-love. But they came back with an 11-6 to make it 18-4 on the day. And top marks to Moa City. So, as we move to our next tie now, the flags have already been changed. And if you've just joined us, this is the Kopiko Purple League 2014 match day 4. As you can tell from the atmosphere in the stadium, the arena, that everyone's ready for this second tie, which is Kajang Badminton Club versus Klang United. A couple of big names there. Hendra, of course, Mohamed Rian Adianto, the Indonesian names, and Nelson. My name is Stephen Silvanathan. This is Astro. Of course, you can catch all the action of the Kopiko Purple League on Astro Supersport, Astro Arena, and Astro on the Go. And so I'll just let MC JD introduce the team members.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the two teams for this Kopiko Purple League tie. Klang United and Kajang BC. All right, teams face each other, please. Face your opponents.
The teams introduced, and as we get the formalities out of the way, we have a look at the team lineups. Captain Jacob Manikal and Chui Kai-meng. Again, with Hendra Setiawan and Ong Soon Hock in the ranks for Kajang. Possibly that could shift this. Also, Mohamed Rian Adianto is a force to be feared. Be interesting to see how they both match up. We will in just a second. Same format as we've come to expect from the first 3 match days. 6 matches, men's singles, women's singles, men's doubles, mixed doubles, and then
all right, thanks, Stephen. We're down here
before
on
we
the
get to those,
arena floor.
we're going to hear from the 2 managers who are on court with JD.
Klang United BC. Yep, Kim Hawk. How different is it managing a team, managing a squad, your players, for the Kopiko Purple League, which is long-term, compared to tournaments, which is like, you know, it's elimination? How different is it?
Yeah, of course, during the players, we just have only training, yeah, and the tournaments. But to managing a club, we actually a lot of works. We have to find a team, management team. We have to find a best player for our KUBC. So we have to do a lot of paperwork and meeting. Yeah, so it's very exciting.
Now the big question is, and don't give too many secrets away because your opponent is here, which matches do you think will be the toughest in this tie?
Yeah, of course, tonight our future player we are not fully the best team, but of course every match is tough. Yeah, every match is tough, and we are prepared. Yep.
Thank you very much, Yap Kim Hawk. And now we have team manager for Kajang BC, Yo Ka Lun. Now the big question is, you've anchored your top foreign players in the at the start and at the end. Is it for strategy? What is it? How does it work out?
For me, Mr. Yap, they have a strong team. And then I think my match will be 50-50 match. So I put Jacob in the first match. They win the first match, and then the deciding game for the last match for the Hendras, their one.
Now, the big question is, how tough a fight do you think you're gonna get from Kim Hok's team?
As I say, 50-50 chance, maybe 3-3. Yeah.
All right, so he thinks 3-3, or you think 3-3 as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right, we'll see how it goes. All right, managers, we'll see how the score goes. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, back to you in the commentary booth before we start the first match, which will be a men's singles match.
And that is the first singles match. Jacob Manikal versus Hua Chen Hao.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from you. First up, for the side for Klang United BC, Hua Chen Hao. And next, it's Kajang BC's Jacob Malinga. Your technical team for the ladies and gentlemen. Chair umpire, Mohammed Salwa, and service judge, Hyuk Yu Ching. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
So the fans still here at the Sports Arena Sentosa, the official tournament venue for Kopiko Purple League. Looking forward to another tie. I suppose we're all hoping it will be just like the tie we just watched, which went to maximum games. Maximum return for Moa City as they came to play, and they really showed it as well. Jacob Manikal, South African. Best in the world was 115th in the world. He's currently ranked 147th, 23 years old. Another one of these young players that took part in the Kuching International Open. And he also made it to the semi-finals of the Africa Team Championship this year. That was in April, against the 19-year-old Hua Chen Hao, who very little is known about, and we're just about to find out more about him as Mohammed Azhar Salman retakes the umpire chair. And Tong Yu Chin back in the service judge berth. Again, both clubs will be looking for a big score from this first game, and I think a lot of people will be taking a leaf out of the playbook from Moa City. That was almost a perfectly played tie, all 6 matches. But let's see how this one pans out. It'll be interesting to see how Jacob, who also played in the BWF World Championships, very early exit, second day, first round. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts to this environment. Of course, a lot of the imports that have come in for a lot of the teams have been from the Asian region, Indonesia, of course, China, Korea. So for a South African player, for South Africa not renowned for its badminton, to have made the journey over here and to be in this brand new tournament, a brand new format, but for him, brand new country as well. It'll be interesting to see how he settles into the club culture of Kajang. More importantly, performs. Said his best ever ranking was 115th. That was 2 years ago. Right-handed, of course, and now currently 147th in the world. Generally speaking, if you break into the top 50 of the world rankings, then there is a certain level of play that's almost expected of you. And then after that, only about 100 places after that, up to about 150, you are allowed, I suppose, a certain degree of errors. Now, as I said, not much known about Hua Chen-hao, so we'll see how he fares. This could be a very interesting matchup indeed. And we're about to all get a glimpse in Malaysia of one of the best from South Africa. South African badminton. What a great perspective the Kopiko Purple League is showing us again. And his first action on a Malaysian court has led to a slip. So far, he's been showing some great movement around court, Jacob. Hua has shown the more incisive shots. He's now taken a 2-point lead early on. Just out, but one thing Jacob has to do, he is moving around a lot. There's a lot of space to the left and the right. And so far, Kwan's shown that he has a very hefty smash that he likes to get into. So, it looks like this match will be a combination of winners and errors. And I suppose it's the exuberance of youth. He keeps trying to go for those down the line winners. And he's missed on enough of them now that he's given Jacob enough points. Unforced errors, unforced errors. More and more of them settling into his game. That's good controlling play from Jacob. Very nice display of shots from Jacob. A little bit more conventional from Klang. He seems to be settling himself on the baseline and is constantly looking for outright winners. And because of that, he's leaving himself very open at the front of the court. And it's no surprise that Jacob is now 4 points ahead, because I hate to say it, Hua, but you just can't win every shot with a smash. And he does seem to want to move forward to the net. He does seem to want to play the drops. But there is no balance right now in what he's doing. I said he's always going for the hook smash. And there he goes again. Now, what that's going to do is just tire himself out. or play it really long. So not the best of strategies from the 19-year-old right now. Conceding a lot of points. Jacob hasn't had to do much except really just return, and he's already 9-3 up. I'm quite interested to see what his jump smashes are like, but he really hasn't even attempted one yet. He doesn't have to. And as you can see, Poir's already feeling a little bit of fatigue just from so much power in his game, and it must be so frustrating to put so much power in your game and then be 10-3 down. Game point to Jacob Malikal. That wasn't really a smash, it was more of a drive. He's got plenty of game points to play with here. Now, I'm sure that Foir's coaches are going to be having a word with him, just saying, vary up your shots a little bit, because your defense, well, as you can see there, very high. Helped by the net, but that was the first real attacking move that we've seen from Jacob. Moving forward towards the net. He gets it anyway. Technically, he did actually cross the net with his leg there, but if you look at it here, it's just a return, and then there's another return. And of course, Foir's overcommitted himself in so many shots now. Look at the space in front of him. Look at the space at the side of him. You might sympathize with the fact that he slipped, but really to keep that much space open, and I know he's only 19 years old, but you can't allow that amount of space when you're playing a singles game. If you look at some of the top players, or even the top 20 players, they will bounce around 4 points of the court, north, south, east, and west, just to make sure and to patrol the area. But Foir was very centered on one area and has, if I may say so, based on that game, misplaced confidence in the accuracy and power of his smash. Too many of his smashes were going wide, too over-dependent on it. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt in the fact that he's 19, but that was a very easy game for Jacob to win. So let's hope now that Foir can change up his tactics a little bit. Again, a basic shot played by Jacob. I think what this is proving, and as I said, this whole Purple League is about development, is that you can't rely on just one shot when you're attacking a badminton match. It's no matter how powerful that shot may be, and how incredible it may be, you can't rely on that. And you know, when you do have prodigies or talents that come through that show that they can, for example, have an amazing drop shot or amazing smash, that's not the shot that you work on. The shots that you work on are the other parts of your game, and it's recovery and movement. And he's moving a little bit better now in this point, but he may have already damaged himself, and most of his defensive clears are just very high. And dare I say it, a better player than Jacob would be finishing him off very quickly. Now, of course, it's not a one-off tournament. It's not a one-off event. So there's plenty of months for Phua to work on those other parts of his game. But so far, I'm quite perplexed as how someone like Yap Kim Hock, for example, would actually not have looked at those areas. They are very basic parts of the game. But then again, he is 19 years old, so Jacob Malikal is easing his way through the second game. He's already got the first game down, specifically the errors of that young man, who is just a little bit overconfident and over-dependent on a smash that's not that accurate as of now. We'll see whether he can warm it up. That's another classic example. You know, it's not even a good attempt at that shot. So now the other players in the other teams will be seeing this, and they will say, well, Klang does have a weak point, because if I do play Phua, then all we got to do is really play defensive and force him into the weaker areas of his game. As you can see, he's still going for the smashes all the time. There's movement there. And there's only so many unforced errors that he will benefit from. Now, if we look at that, funnily enough, it's actually Jacob that's made the unforced errors. As I said, it's not really about the unforced errors he's making, it's about lack of depth in his game. And I'm just a bit surprised, I suppose, that anyone that was allowed into this team would have so many vulnerabilities as we perceive it now. And this is the first game he's played, so perhaps I'm being a little bit harsh on him. And of course, it could be part of the strategy to play their weakest player first, and then they have the likes, of course, of Nelson Hagway Krat coming up later on, Mohamed Nadianto. So they are looking at a strong finish to this tie. And as we just saw, he looks a bit aggrieved, Phua, actually, and probably a bit surprised at how he's losing this game, but it's kind of obvious to everyone up here, and I suppose everyone watching. And this is, of course, making South African badminton look extremely good. I'd like to see Jacob Malikal play possibly the likes of Chim Jun Wei, who we saw earlier, take a game off Lee Hyun Il. He's more competent, he has more all-round play. There's obviously a lot of scope that he has to win. Now, Phua is clawing back a little bit here, but I can't see him threatening in this game at all. And he's already, as I said, running out of breath because there's so much power that he's putting in. There's another one. Another wide smash. He's angry at himself. Well, literally given both games away. Now, when you think about it as a team event, and you look at what Moa City just did, with all 6 matches and all the players in between helping each other, then I'm wondering why the rest of his team aren't saying, hold up a second here, Paul. Let's just not give away 2 really important points while you test out your smash. because smashes should really be tested out in training courts. That one worked, but also to say that the law of averages would probably have to favor him at some point. He's not in a good situation in this game. 7-10 down, one game down already. And I sincerely hope that in the third game we see a different tactic, because so far Klang United have not put up a good front. So Jacob Manikal, 2 games up now. And a lot of work needed for the young 19-year-old as Kajang take a 2-game lead, 11-4, 11-7. And I'd like to get the camera view of what the coaches are saying to that young 19-year-old. And here it is. He doesn't look too convinced. His coaches, well, maybe they've seen it as well. But let's see if he can make the changes. He can, of course, start building his game at any point. But really, in the harshest possible way, you could say it's a one-trick pony and the trick doesn't work, which is the smash. If the amount of smashes that were attempted, if a greater percentage of them had got through, then of course he would have been able to put a more stronger front up to actually winning either of those 2 games, but went down tamely. And he's running himself out of breath. I suppose it's a good counter-example. Excuse me, it's a good counter-example of how much effort you can expend on a badminton court and not get the results that you want. And let's see if he can make the changes here. If he can ring the changes and start moving a bit better around the court. That's a little bit better. But hopefully we're not going to see him move into such an aggressive game when he's leaving so much space around him. What he needs to do is, of course, push Jacob around the court. Just like that. Just like that. So, as I said, you can start rescuing a game at any point. That's a much better play for Klang and for Puat. And all of a sudden, you're 2 points up. And even that, a recovery. So, again, we've seen some strange things happen today already. Games given away from a lack of focus. It's now looking like Puat does have those skills, just didn't use them in the first 2 games. And was over-dependent on the smash. Well, better play. He's still leaving himself open, but it's a better strategy. I'm sure he listened to his coaches now. I just hope that the young lad hasn't tired himself out from all that smashing in the first 2 games, which again he didn't win. And now he's doing the right thing, which is he's exposing the weaknesses of his player, of his opponent. Another good lesson for any young badminton player that's watching, how attitude can make all the difference. You can be the best shot maker in the world, you can move around the court as fast as you like, but your attitude has to be set, and in a team event like this, your attitude has to also be integrated with the rest of your team. Well, he's playing a smarter game now, so we should let him go ahead with it and see how it fares. I fear it's too little too late. That's the first real smash we've seen from Jacob. Good technique, good jump. Pretty good power as well. I was thinking earlier that some of his drives were just a little bit weak. Maybe Jacob has realized that Hua has woken up a little bit, so now he has to play a different game. But he's scratching his head because he keeps going long. He'd love to walk away from this 3-love. The first gift he gives to his club as a foreign import from, I suppose you could say, a lesser badminton playing country would be 3. Now, there you go. The unforced errors are beginning to stack up in Hua's favor. Again, well placed by Jacob. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries that a lot more and just focuses on Hua and pressures him and pressures him. But also don't forget there's acres of space either side of Hua that Jacob could aim for. And finally, that's the right time for the smash. Executed well. So I think we just saw an example of the kind of point that Hua could play. Now, the greatest players would know that structure, look at their opponent, and almost replay the point we saw, and just aggregate and accumulate the points. And he has got great reflexes. So we're seeing more from Hua now, which is good because, in all honesty, the first 2 games were a real letdown to his club. And maybe the sudden turnaround in form has caught Jacob by surprise. And I suppose we had to see it again. Change of racket. A better game played this time, but still a lot of work needed. And to start playing it when you're 2-love down is not smart. So a couple of errors from Jacob, and Hua actually has a chance here to right a few wrongs, perhaps. That one worked. Won himself a game. And this is a little bit better, but really Jacob shouldn't be in that position anyway. All that space has been created by 2 players being in the wrong spot. So still haven't really seen enough to say that he's going to take it in 5, which is what he needs to do. But at least he's listening to his coaches now, playing a smarter game as well. Maybe it was a case of 19 years of age, wanting to impress on this big stage with lots of fans. And Jacob still in position to take this, having been gifted almost those 2 first games. Now we're seeing, I think maybe it was a case of Jacob not expecting Poir to change. He's being more forceful now in this game. And he's using those spaces I was talking about either side of Poir, because he's still a little bit unaware of his position. That I can't really put down to any attitude thing. That's, of course, being very young. Your positional game is something that you pick up as you go through, and really it's also a result of playing better and better opponents as you go through. And now if we go straight back to the first match of the first tie today, and we see the movement of a player like Lee Hyun-il and how he was ousted even in one of those games by Chim Jun-wei, it's exactly what I'm talking about here. The 4 points around the court that you have to make sure are covered, and just at times it looks like Poir is so centered on winning the point, and it might be for the best of intentions. It might be he wants to win the point and the game for his club, but this is not the best way or strategy to do that. And that looks like it was a legitimate slip. I think it was a case of surprise. I don't think Jacob expected in that third game Poir to come out with a different type of game and show some actual skill in his recovery. His reflex recoveries were great from midcourt, a couple of them. So a few good things to look at, but he will suffer from the other weaknesses. There's no doubt about that. And he will also come across opponents that do not gift him points like that. It could just be that the coaches, of course, of Klang United are just using Jacob as a test bed to maybe work on those areas of Poir's game. They certainly look, based on the lineups, that they're going to be looking to deliver a lot more points in the 5th and 6th matches. The men's singles and the men's doubles. So this men's singles and the other men's doubles might hopefully just be test beds, but of course now that Moa City have set such a standard by winning 18 games in one tie, I don't know if you've got time for test beds anymore. I think there's going to be a massive improvement now that the standard has been set, and that's the thing about setting benchmarks in sport. Whether it's world champions or whether it is in any tournament level that you find, there will always be one player or one team that will set the benchmark for everyone else. And Moa City have certainly done that. Jacob now knows what to do. He's just slowed the pace down a little bit. And as I said earlier, he's now looking for the spaces left and right because he's realizing there's not much lateral movement from Poit. So now I'm sure Poit is beginning to rue the fact that those two first games were given away so quickly and so easily. You just can't do that in a format this quick. And now Jacob Maniakal is 2 points away. Make that 1 point away from delivering that third game to Kajang. So a good win there for Jacob Maniakal. He's got to be very happy that he's delivered these points to his club. He was only really pushed into having to use more of his game in the third game and the fourth. Now let's hear what he has to say on court with JD.
All right, Jeevan, we're down here once again on the tournament arena floor. We're with Jacob right now, who picked up a 3-1 win. Would have been better if it was a 3-0, but 3-1. What do you think of your performance today?
Just try to go out there and force the speed as much as possible and take control from the beginning, because 11 points is a very short game. So if you take control from the start and get a big lead, you get a good confidence, and then it'll let you play well throughout the game. So I was happy with the performance. I would have liked to win 3-0, but I'm happy with 3-1.
Right, now that you've gotten your first match out of the way and you know how tough it is to play 11 points, any words of advice for your women's singles next?
Well, just go out there and stay focused from the start. You can't afford to lose a couple of easy points from the beginning. So fully 120% focus from the beginning of the game, and you should be fine.
Right, 120%. I like that. Thank you very much, Jacob. Ladies and gentlemen, for Kajang BC, picking up a 3-1 win. Back to you in the commentary box.
Good words there from the latest import, and a pretty good advert for South African badminton as well, which I'm pretty sure that you haven't seen very much of. I think it's still safe to say that some of the household names that we know of in Asia would definitely not be troubled by him, but Let's see what Klang United have now as we get to the women's singles. It's Boon Wei Ying versus Yap Ri Chen. As we look at some of the stats there. The unforced errors for one. Now, for all the smashes that Paul Chen Hao was attempting, 9 completed. And Jacob only really started smashing in the 3rd and 4th game, so you've got to make them count. And that's one of the main things. Jacob dominated at the net as well. So, a good lesson in how to play in a team format as we move to the 2nd game. Yap Ri Chen for Klang United and Boon Wei Ying for Kajang. Stephen Ong with the coin toss. So if we look at Yap Ri Chen, he's 18 years old, 559th ranked in the world. And I'm just guessing that she's going to play a pretty more balanced game. And I said 18, 19, there's all sorts of things happening in your head when you put on a stage like this. As we look at Stephen Ong and Ian Spear, retaking the umpire and service judge positions. There are a lot of factors that affect younger players, of course, as they enter tournaments. But I would have thought the coaches were the first thing you'd say to them is you have to have a balanced approach to how you play things. You have to develop all parts of your game. And what this is really showing is that the greatest players in the game, Lin Dan, Dao Li Chongwei, Chen Long, Wang Zhengming, all of them have a balanced approach. They're just very, very good at all different parts of their game, because that's the only way you're going to succeed in badminton. In tennis, you could get away at one point with serve volley. Stefan Edberg showed for years that, and a lot of other players, that serve volley, serve volley, serve volley. They were good enough at the other parts of the game, but that's the one that they pressured on. Now, long gone are the days where just a power smash will take you through a badminton tournament or a match, because the standard of play across the categories, across the genders, has improved so much that the smash has taken its place within a variety of other shots. I was just a little bit surprised to see that most of those shots were just totally ignored by Park in those first 2 games. And each game, as we said, is so important. Each point matters. So I would have expected it a standard that any player that gets onto the Kopiko Purple League court will be thinking of their team more than the single shot or how a single game should go. As we get underway with the women's singles. And already you can see both players moving around the court. That was just in the opening points. To make another sports comparison, I suppose, in snooker, you could pot the ball, yes. And where you leave the white ball afterwards is going to really influence your game in the general scale of things as to your next shot. So in badminton, of course, you make the shot and then you position yourself afterwards. You can see both girls doing it here. As soon as they make the shot, they move to a certain area of the court. Han Chunxiang showed it very well in his match. Always moving